Okay guys, so you guys just finished doing your thermal curling. Right now this next video is going to be when we're jumping in from thermal curling, which was again 10 minutes, and we're jumping right into the haircut. We're going to go ahead and do the setup and everything as well. So this next video is going to be we just finished thermal curling, we're jumping into haircutting. On the haircutting, they are going to want you guys to do, the first thing is going to be the cutting with the blade. We're also going to be cutting some layers. We're all going to be following the guide. They want to make sure that you guys are doing it safely, palming your scissors. So there's a lot of things that they're going to be looking out for. This is probably going to be one of the longest procedures that you're going to do, because this one they actually give you 30 minutes to be able to do the full procedure. Make sure that you guys practice a haircut before you do it. Some people, our students, what we do is we tell them buy some mannequins on offer from people that have done the test already. Sometimes you can get mannequins for as low as $5. $10 just to be able to practice. It doesn't matter if they have color on them. Some people sell them for real cheap because they already done color on the mannequins. It doesn't matter. You're going to practice a haircut only. So make sure you guys are practicing over and over. So again, our next video right now that we're going to watch is hair cutting, 30 minutes. And this is after thermal curling. You will perform a haircut. You will complete a basic layer haircut using razor and shears. You will cut at least 1 inch of hair throughout the haircut. Do not remove your hair clippings from your work area until you are instructed individually by the examiner to do so. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 30 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 15 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate that you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin. Okay guys, so remember, always start off by sanitizing your hands before and after every procedure that we do. That is very important, especially right now with the whole COVID situation. You want to make sure you have nice clean hands. We just finished doing our thermal curling, so we're going to go ahead and wet the hair so that we can put it all back. We're going to get ready for the haircut right now. Go ahead and put a little bit of water. Make sure you don't overspray it, because we don't want water to be on the floor as well either. Because if you do drop water on the floor, remember you're gonna have to stop and go ahead and clean it all up, because you cannot have water on the floor and be working like that. They will take away points for that. Go ahead and brush all the curls off if you need to wet it a little bit more, but again, don't over wet it. Make sure it's not wet enough where it's dripping water. Yeah, make sure that you guys have the hair a little bit wet. You know, it's going to be easier to cut. It's easier to use the blade on it as well. You know, you make sure it's not dripping water on the floor. Items to be disinfected, since we're not going to be using it anymore. We're going to be going and do our 4 sections. Remember, we're going to do 2 sections on the top, on the front, 2 sections on the back. Behind the ear, we're going to do our line on the side. Go ahead and pin that up. You guys remember that at State Board, they do grade you on the way you section. So make sure you section as neat as possible. Make sure that your sections, when you tie them up, the hair is not sticking out everywhere. Make sure you pin it inside the curl, inside of your section. Again, you know, when you go to State Board, you want to make sure you're working as clean as possible, as neat as possible. All your sections, everything looks good. And again, like I always tell everybody, if sectioning is not one of your best things that you do, just practice. The more you practice, the better. Remember, in the back, you have the 3 lines, the 3 sections that you can follow. We're going to follow that section in the middle, and we're going to part it right in the middle all the way down. We're going to go ahead and tie that part up. We're going to go ahead and also, when we start doing the back, we are going to go ahead at the same time, start grabbing our first section, which is going to be a 1-inch guide. Again, we leave that little section that you see in the bottom. That's going to be our guide. So we need a 1 inch. That's the one that's going to determine the length of the hair that we're going to be cutting. We're going to grab the other section and again, bring down a 1-inch guide. Same as the other side. Pin it back up. And again, remember, you want to make sure that you're comfortable when you're doing this. So if the mannequin is too low or if it's too high, make sure you adjust the mannequin. If you need to move it, you can go ahead and move it. Just make sure that you sanitize your hands after touching the tripod before you touch the mannequin again, okay? But you're more than welcome to go ahead and move it again. You know, if you guys, this was a real client, you wouldn't be, you could pump them up on the chair. So again, always sanitize your hands after you touch the tripod. If the hair you touch it and you see that the water really didn't get in the bottom part of it, you're always more than welcome to go ahead and wet it. We do recommend you to, again, to have damp hair when you're cutting hair. Remember, we are going to have 2 combs on our station, and the reason for that is one is for your hair cutting and the other one is going to be for the inspector, for him to go ahead and check your haircut at the end. We're going to go ahead and get our first section, which is going to become our guide. We're going to have the blade on our hand. Remember, it's 3 fingers in the front and your pinky goes in the back section on the tang. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our section, which is going to be the mid part. Pull it down and we're going to cut 1 inch on the bottom. Okay. And remember, with the blade, you are cutting on top of your fingers. You're not going to be cutting below, obviously. Use that as your guide. As soon as the little hair starts falling off of your finger, that means that it's your guide. That's where you're going to be cutting. Okay. Always make sure you follow your guide. That's very important. If you don't see a guide, then don't cut. Once we're done with our first guide, now we're going to go ahead and do another inch. Bring that section down and go ahead and curl the other part back up. And again, you know, for stay board, you're just going to be working here. You know, she's taking her time because she's explaining. But at stay board, you're just going to be sectioning, cutting. Bring the other part down and pin that part up again. Now that we have our guide also on the length, now we can go ahead and bring up our sections as well. If you can, you want to bring them up at 90-degree angle cut. Okay. Go ahead and brush it down. And again, remember how we were telling you the first section, we're going to use that as a guide. And now we're going to go ahead and bring it at 90-degree angles because now we have a guide already that we can follow. And again, once that guide falls, you see the little hair falling, that's your guide. So that's telling you right there that that's your guide. That's where you're going to stop and that's where you're going to cut. Okay. Pick up another section. Bring it up. As soon as your guide falls from your finger, then that's where you're going to be cutting. And you're going to do that whole section at 90 degrees. Your guide falls and you cut. Okay, so you're going to do that whole section right there. Extend it. Your guide falls and you cut. Okay, and we're going to keep doing this throughout this whole section right here. You know, again, the proctor is going to check your haircut at the end, so you do want to make sure you do a good job. You don't want to skip stuff. You don't want to say, oh, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and do it really fast. Like, no, really pay attention to what you're doing because you never know what section the proctor is going to come and look at. We're going to go ahead and grab another section, another inch. Okay, so this is going to be our last section that we're going to be using when we're doing with the cutting with the blade. We're not going to be cutting with the blade anymore after this. There's going to be 3 sections. That's what they want to see. They want to see you do at least 3 sections. Same thing, go ahead and do it at 90 degrees. Using your guide. When you see the guide falling, that's where you're going to cut. And again, if for some reason you pick up the hair and you don't see